Hey guys. Hey, I wanted to just jump on. As I've mentioned before, I was removed from Twitter by the fascist Jack Dorsey. So I'm just trying out this YouTube live streaming and checking out how it works because I will be at the Virginia State Capitol on January 20th, early in the morning. I think 8 a.m. or earlier. For the Virginia Civil Defense League Second Amendment demonstration to counter the fascist gun grabbing moves that it looks like the Virginia legislature and the governor will be attempting. So I want to make sure that I've got a good understanding of how this works. I've been on Periscope before, but I was removed from Twitter, so I don't think I can get on Periscope. I haven't even tried, but I'm so fed up with Twitter and their censorship. YouTube's not much better. They're all fascist. Facebook as well, but hey, I thought I'd take the best of what I got left, and that's YouTube live streaming. So I wanted to see how that worked. Talk about a few things. The Trump taking out the Iranian terrorist general, which that's what he is. U.S. intelligence says the guy's responsible for hundreds of American deaths. He's Hezbollah coordinating these, attacks in Iraq. And then, of course, we have domestic critics saying, "Oh, this is a wag the dog move." It's like, hold on a second. It's like Trump's not the one who launched an attack against the our embassy in Baghdad. So it hardly looks like a wag the dog move. It looks like an opportunity to take out the piece of shit who has, first of all, already plotted and killed many Americans and lots of other people as well. And secondly, in retaliation, you attack our embassies, you attack our foreign service personnel, you kill an American contractor with your jihadi bullshit, and we're going to come back and we're going to kill you tenfold, which we have the ability to do. So I absolutely support what the president did. And any of these politicians, Nancy Pelosi crying about not being informed in advance. You don't need to be informed in advance. You're like a colander anyway when it comes to information. The House of Representatives, especially the Democrats, have proven as of late that they're not to be trusted with anything. So I certainly wouldn't expect the president to give Nancy Pelosi a heads up. Ihan Omar, she's crying and bitching because one of her fellow jihadists were taken out. And, she's pretending it's a wag the dog move, election year, blah, blah, blah. But we all know that's a crock of shit. Donald Trump loves this country, and he's doing what's right for this country. And that includes eliminating terrorist piece of shit who, which I'm wondering, what was this guy doing in the Baghdad airport? What an idiot. I guess he doesn't, understand that we have access to that airspace. So he's just plain stupid for landing in Iraq. But obviously, what's he doing in Iraq? What's he doing in Baghdad? Well, according to U.S. intelligence, he was there to plan some more terrorist attacks against Americans. So, whatever. Arrivederci, baby. And, the Iranians can rattle their drums all they want to, their war drums. By the way, I feel sorry for the Iranian people because that regime, is absolutely insane, and the Iranian people deserve better. But at the same time, I mean, it just would be a mistake on their part to try any sort of counter move at this point. They can, I guess, activate terror cells within the country, within our country. But even more foolish would be to attempt a military strike against a U.S. asset or a military asset, even, because that's just going to escalate and come back with more strikes. And at the end of the day, I'm sorry, but the Iranian military is no match. I don't think there's any plans of putting boots on the ground in Iran. That would, of course, be a huge mistake. But if they insist on escalating, I don't really have a problem with taking out assets of that regime. Just try to minimize any civilian casualties. I'm very anti-war. But at the same time, when you got terrorists attacking your people around the globe, and I'm from, my father was in the Foreign Service, so I understand that. We have to protect, unlike Hillary Clinton, we have to protect our Foreign Service folks when they're overseas. They deserve that, especially when they're willing to serve in places like Baghdad. On a more positive note, just a lot of buzz out there about the disclosure that's going to take place in 2020. All the things didn't happen that I would have liked to seen happen in 2019, but at the same time, we made progress. And what everybody's got to understand, I think, is that it's slow going. You know, the criminals are being exposed, the criminal cabal, the deep state, the Luciferian pedophiles. There's a lot of different names for them, the Illuminati. They're revealing themselves just in their reactions. For instance, censoring everything and anything to do with folks who talk about QAnon. The reason I got booted from Twitter is because I have and always will tried to expose the Luciferian pedophiles for what they are. They're disgusting. Their disgusting religion, you know, targets children and victimizes children, tortures, murders, rapes, and even cannibalizes them. And, you know, I've been saying that now for years, long before it was popular. But I guess Jack Dorsey and Twitter douchebags finally had enough. I think what burns my ass the most about these Twitter scumbags is half of them are H-1B, they're foreigners, and they have the power to censor American citizens on an American platform on essentially what is the American internet. I mean, the United States is who invented the internet. And so that kind of makes me sick as well. And then, of course, these Silicon Valley companies, they always want more H-1Bs in there to chop out American workers, pay them less, etc. But now these people are deciding which Americans have a voice and which don't, which I think is absolutely wrong. I do wish the Congress or the FCC or somebody would take some sort of action to end this censorship. It's getting absolutely ridiculous. As a matter of fact, I saw David Wilcock and Corey Goode complaining that Facebook won't even allow them to advertise their, what is it, Cosmic Secrets, their new movie, which, you know, I watched it and it's like, on what basis are you not allowing them to advertise on your platform? I know the basis. The basis is that all of these entities, they're controlled by the Luciferian pedophiles, and any information that the Luciferian pedophiles deem to be harmful to them, they want to shut down. So that's why. What I find disgusting, though, is that, for instance, like a lot of people on the left, they're not standing up and going, hey, you know what? Even though I don't agree with these people, I believe in free speech and free expression. That's what keeps our constitutional republic great. So it's really disappointing, the lack of, stepping up. At the same time, we can't expect that from the media, because not only are they hardcore leftists, but they are actually directly under the direct control of the Luciferian pedophiles. Even many that you think maybe aren't, indeed are. Even Fox News is. Now, not everyone at Fox News is, but the network as a whole is, and all of the networks are. Folks, they basically own just about everything, but they can't stop what's coming. I'm thinking we're not far from seeing a lot of indictments unsealed and arrests taking place this spring. I'm actually thinking, with the Space Force, we're not far from, well, Wilcock's gone in his latest video and talked about the fact that they have disclosed, room temperature fusion generators that give you thousands of times the output in wattage that you put into them, and also zero gravity technology that they're, that are patents that the U.S. Navy says are operational. They work. They're using them. And these are open. You don't even see this in the news, though. Come on, zero gravity propulsion and free energy, and we don't see that in the news? Anyway, all kinds of craziness going on. Now you got Ralph Northam wants to take General Robert E. Lee's statue out of the Virginia Capitol building. And regardless of where you stand on the Civil War, understand this about Robert E. Lee. The slaves that Robert E. Lee owned, he inherited from his wife's father. From what I've read, Robert E. Lee was fundamentally opposed to slavery, and he actually ended up, he liberated his slaves while, believe it or not, a lot of people don't know this, Ulysses S. Grant owned a slave. Ulysses S. Grant was a slave owner after Robert E. Lee had freed his slaves. So, of course, slavery is a blight on our country, but it's a part of our history, and there's no sense in burying history. Robert E. Lee was an honorable Virginian who stood up and fought for Virginia because, first and foremost, he was a Virginian. and he deserves to be honored in the state capitol. And I think it's just childish, and it's especially disgusting when coming from a guy who's donned the Confederate flag, which I don't think that's racist, but in combination with his blackface and KKK stuff, then you're gonna come on and tell everybody else that, oh, Robert E. Lee's a racist. Give me a break. I'll bet you my life Robert E. Lee never dressed up in blackface in a Klan outfit. Okay, so that's the hypocrisy of Ralph Northam, who, I don't know, that guy. If I had to guess, I would say his days are numbered one way or another, because he just seems like an absolute idiot. Hard to believe he's a VMI grad and a former military officer. I, I, I can't imagine many folks who are his fellow alum from Virginia Military Institute, which usually, for those of you not from Virginia, I know quite a few VMI grads, and they're generally stand-up people, successful stand-up, decent people for the most part, because they do have an honor code there. I've seen one guy I know slip by it who's about as dishonorable as you can get, and I would say Northam's another one of those that you wonder how he got through that university, considering their honor code, because he doesn't seem to be a man of honor. Anyways, guys, let me see. Somebody's in here commenting. I think these yeah, they might make, they probably do make their resumes up often. But either way, I hope that I'm seeing an overwhelming support around the country about coming to Virginia, supporting Virginians in this time. I really do think that, I don't think this is a state issue. I don't think it's a national issue. I really think it's a global issue. I think I think the Bloombergs and the Soroses in the world, they're part of the NWO, New World Order movement, and the one world government and all that bullshit. And folks, Virginia's the battleground. We've always been a commonwealth that has enjoyed our Second Amendment rights the way they should be enjoyed by every American. And the NWO Luciferians know that if they can succeed in taking our weapons, which I'm absolutely confident they will not in Virginia, that they can succeed anywhere. So really appreciate the support from around the country. I hope that anybody that's able to will attend the January 20th Virginia Civil Defense League demonstration in, I'm sorry, I missed that comment, at the Richmond Capitol. I will be there with bells on. Look for a guy with a bullhorn. I'm pretty good on a bullhorn, and I want to be live streaming a lot of the day, so that folks that can't be there understand what's going on. And hey, anything you can do, writing letters, shooting emails, explaining these idiots in our legislature and the governor himself of what the consequences could be for what they're doing. I mean, because I actually don't think that state police or National Guard are going to follow any unconstitutional orders. That's my opinion, and I've actually contacted the state police via email, and I just think that's where we are with that. So it'd be real funny to see these leftist gun grabbers put forward all these illegal laws and then have nobody to enforce it. But I would say, Governor Northam, why don't you jump up on your white horse like George Washington? You can lead the charge against that. I certainly hope you show your face on Lobby Day. Why don't you come out and explain to all of us that are going to be there, I hope 50 to 100,000 or more people, why you think you have the mandate or the power to limit our constitutional rights. Not only the U.S. Constitution, but the Virginia Constitution clearly protects our right to bear arms, and specifically protects the militia, which is the everyday citizen like me who's well armed and prepared to defend their communities and their commonwealth. Anyways, guys, I'm going to sign out for now. Please let me know in the comments if you got the live stream. Everything was clear, the audio was clear, the video was clear, and I really appreciate you. If you spread it around, I'm going to be broadcasting. I've gone through this before. I've been a little dormant lately just because I like the events unfolding the way they are. I kind of felt like I did my part to tip over the domino, if you will, along with a lot of other people, to get this all started, to start the Great Awakening. But this is right in my own back door now in Richmond, Virginia, and I can't just sit here and be complacent. I was actually arrested at the Virginia Capitol grounds earlier this year, which if you look on my lower down my feed, you'll see why. I don't plan on getting arrested again, but then again, I don't plan on taking any unconstitutional abuse from law enforcement either, and I will go to jail over that, as I have before. Oh yeah, I want to show you all my patches here too that I have in my, well, there's my Don't Shred on me. It's kind of cool. On the roof of my FJ Cruiser is this material that Velcro patches stick to. These are my others over here. Let me see if I can get those to you. So I keep those. I'll wear those sometimes, but I like to keep them right there. My favorite stuff. Reminds me of what we're all about. Anyways, guys, I love y'all. And let me see if I can catch this. If the RV goes through. I wouldn't bank on that. But I would bank on actually a currency collapse sometime this year. I think the Luciferians are going to make sure that the currency collapses. According to Wilcock, an agreement was signed July 9th with some financial interest in Asia that, you know, will trigger the collapse, and we'll go back to a gold-based system. And you know, the stock market's going to collapse. And I think that the Luciferians are going to make sure that happens before the election to try to harm Trump. If it doesn't happen organically, I think they're going to make it happen. But I mean, you know, the Federal Reserve it's a Ponzi scheme. It's lasted over 100 years. And I don't think in human history that any fiat currency has lasted over 100 years. You know, it's based on nothing. It's garbage, and it's run its course. So, you know, I got a lot of friends here in the stock market, and by the way, I got a degree in finance, so you might want to take a look and do a little research on what's going on in the repo markets. I'm not going to go into that on this video, but you ought to look at that, because that's a fundamental that I think can tell you a lot about what's going on in liquidity in the marketplace. And yeah, I know if you got money in stocks right now, you've had a nice ride, but I say smart money is in wealth preservation, and the only way you're going to preserve wealth is not even in having cash in a safe, because those dollars I don't think are going to be worth a whole lot sometime later this year. But the best thing is like physical gold and silver. I especially encourage people, if you don't have any physical gold or silver, to get junk silver, which are, what is it, pre-1964, pre-1964, pre-1965 quarters and dimes. Are 90% silver. And the reason I think they're a good idea initially, at least to have, I don't know, several hundred ounces of that, is that they can act as a currency, you know, day-to-day currency. You don't want to hand somebody a 1 ounce gold coin if you need a loaf of bread. Perhaps a silver dime is more in order there, you know. So it will act as a currency, a temporary currency, even if there is a currency collapse, because your debit card's not going to work if there's a currency collapse. So it's always good to have that sort of emergency funding on hand. Trump got the money to keep us going. Well, he didn't attack Iran. He attacked an Iranian general. But again, earlier in the video, I said I'm all for that. The guy, according to our intelligence, if they're not lying, which I know they lie often, but if they're not lying, that general is indeed, which, you know, I mean, he coordinates Hezbollah. He's responsible for hundreds of Americans' deaths. So good riddance to him. Anyways, guys, I love y'all. Spread the word. Spread my you know, my YouTube channel around, simply from the standpoint that I am going to be broadcasting, you know, from the Virginia Capitol. I think it's something people need to be interested in and are interested in, and need to follow, so they know what's going on. Because if it happens here in Virginia, I guarantee you it's going to eventually happen in your state. But if we all stick together, stand shoulder to shoulder, and stand up for our rights, it will not happen. So anyway, love y'all, and take care. Bye.